So at Drift, obviously it's just a crazy experience on so many different levels, but
Yeah.
what role did mentorship play in kind of your career at that point in time?
Oh, I mean, it was everything. David and I sat next to each other basically since my first day. And we were just like attached at the hip for pretty much 4 years. And that type of access is unprecedented. And we traveled together everywhere. You know, we would go to San Francisco for like a meeting or something, and then we'd spend the whole day together, breakfast, go for a workout, ride bikes or whatever. And just there's a lot you get from that.
That's amazing. Turn my hands over.
It's all right.
What would you say the most valuable kind of lesson he taught you was?
I think just how he thought about marketing. Like, he was just obsessed with marketing and brand, and like, I think he was the first person to show
So like, you know, I kind of always thought like marketing was not as important as like product or engineering. And so he was the first person to like elevate kind of marketing and like
in marketing in the importance of growing a business.
So would you still keep in touch then with like Mike Volpe and Joe Chernoff and whatnot while you were at Drift from like a mentorship perspective, or?
Yeah, well, Mike
Much?
and I actually got closer when we were at Drift, when I was at Drift, because he had left HubSpot. When we were at HubSpot, I just was, you know, I worked with him on the podcast, but I was one of, 75 people on a marketing team.
Yep.
We got closer because he was an advisor at Drift and I was the marketing person. So that was like incredible. I mean, what an incredible resource for me. Literally have the former CMO of HubSpot as your like, hey, what should the ratio of marketing to sales be in the budget? You know, like, I don't know any of that stuff. Oh, Dave. See, that was just a wrong club right there, folks. It's sitting down in the rough with a 3-wood, but we got to just try to rip it. So no, we got super close. He was so useful. And I stayed in touch with Joe. But Mike I worked really closely with, actually.
and then we became more like personal friends at that time. I still have so many notes of things I learned from him, like saved, that I reference back, like head count, this thing, that thing. You know, once a quarter he would come in and like we feel like a lunch and learn with our team or something. Because I feel like similar to where we're already too.
Kind of at right now, not comparing
User ovens to drip, but just like having
different responsibilities for the first time. Like you don't really,
It's like to be in charge for the first time is a
you
big
don't
deal.
really know unless you talk to people.
Right. Oh, that was pure, dude. Good shot.
There we go.
Atta boy. I mean, I think there's like there's a huge growth curve when like you just get to own for the first time, and it's hard to learn at first, but I'm sure you felt this, like
when you shift from, you know, like in your past company, right? You had Jason, you had Yo, whatever. Here, like you're the decision maker now, and you have to learn. Like I feel like when I first started to be in that position, there would be so many things that I would
ask David about, and he'd be like, dude, like he didn't say this, but this is what I took from that. He'd be like, dude, I'm the fucking CEO of this like company. Like I can't be telling you what to do about some minute detail. And I was like, oh, he wants me to like tell him what we're doing, and then I own it and like he pokes holes in it.
Yep.
Or like just realize that like the CEO doesn't need to know every single thing that's going on. Like, how do you use your one-on-one? Like, it's very easy to be like, oh, we did this. No. What's the one thing, you have 1 hour with this guy, like what's the one thing you need to work on? Mm-hmm. Solve all the other shit like on your own. And so I would keep like an Apple Note on my phone of like a running list of things I want to talk to him about in our one-on-one throughout the week. Yep. So I don't have to bother, like not everything needs to be a Slack message, like, hey, what do you think of this? And then when you file those things away, it's also interesting how like 6 days later when you pull up that note, you're like, 90% of this is not important. I got to talk to you about like, I'm having this issue with Mark on our team, and like, I want to talk through that. And I think there's just huge value into like, you got to learn and figure this stuff out. Oh, I should have hit the 50. Ooh. No, it's not the right shot.
Before we get into the story, I had kind of a similar moment. Like I've been at User Evidence for about a year now, a little over a year.
This way.
And one of my mentors, who was an advisor, and he was the CEO of a previous company that was acquired by SurveyMonkey. So knows this stuff. He goes, don't ask for permission to do these things. Like, just go do these things.
Yeah, you gotta just do it.
And I think that was something that I was not really aware of.
Yeah, where do you got to understand the level of, it's not always just do it. Like some things they do want to be involved in, you just don't understand what, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it was basically like after the first year at Drift, the first year was interesting because there wasn't like real product market fit yet, and they got a bunch of money from Sequoia. So the first year was kind of like, I would call like exploratory.
Yep.
But once the company like started to take off and things got real, you know, work became a lot more serious.
Yep.
And we hired a finance guy. The finance guy is asking me for the budget and the plan for the year and how much I think we're going to spend on paid. And I'm like, dude, we're an organic machine. We have a brand. We don't spend on paid. And so I said it in passing to David one time. I'm like, yeah, the finance guy wants to know how much I think we're going to spend on paid next year. I told him we don't do that. And he goes dead serious. He's like, you better find out. You better get smart about it. And what he meant was like, yeah, dude, maybe not now, but like you have to grow up and be like, we're going to have to spend at some point.
Yep.
And so you need to learn. And he's like, so go, you better go learn and start to make some smart like assumptions and guess and test and learn. And I was like, oh, okay, this isn't like a fun, cute little thing. Like he's like, hey, if you want this job, you got to keep evolving and learn the shit that you don't know. You got to hit it, son. I expected him to be like, yeah, I know, right? We're never going to spend on paid. He's like, well, we're building a real company. This guy comes to Vermont, doesn't even fix his own ball market.
Was that me?
Well, who do you think it was?
I thought it rolled up here.
It rolled up here? This green is like a puddle, dude. They're never going to let us back here to the ridge.
Get in.
Oh. You know, he was laying in bed last night thinking about, if I make a 30-foot putt and they get it on video tomorrow, like that's gonna be so sick. And that was almost the moment. Oh no, dude! I hope you got that. That counts.
You got that.
That counts.
That counts.
That was not good in my book.
No, it's not good. There we go.
So I play golf with this guy every week. He's my accountant, not on purpose, just he's become my accountant. He's a really good player.
Like by way of playing golf? Or did you know him before?
I met him because I had like some complicated tax and he ended up being a good golfer and we play all the time.
Nice.
So he was in sales and he said, he's a legit scratch golfer. And he had an interview with this guy back in the day, like maybe 20 years ago. And the CEO of this company asked him, they were talking about golf and he loved him. And he asked him what his handicap was. And he said, oh, I'm a scratch golfer. And dead serious, the CEO's like, no, I'm sorry, man. You're never going to be able to work here. And he's like, wait, what? Why? I thought everything was going well. He's like, because anyone who plays that much golf can't possibly work hard enough to be a good employee here. And there's a level of truth to that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great story.
That's awesome.
Dead serious. He's like, no, I can't have any scratch golfers working at my company.
I turn my hands over again. Well struck. Not the right direction, but forward.
Ding, who's the greatest rapper of all time? I'm asking for your opinion. I'm not asking for
Jay-Z.
My guy. Thank you. So he's been my favorite rapper ever since I was in 9th grade when the Blueprint came out.
What an album.
Here's a true story. You know on Blueprint 2, that song, It Was All a Dream? It was all a dream. And then they play Biggie's verse. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up Mac. I heard Juicy after I heard that, and I was like, wait a second. This is not his song? That was the first time I ever heard Juicy was in Dream. And anyway, so Jay-Z's been my favorite rapper since 9th grade. He has only got better for me. I just go to his discography on Spotify and hit shuffle. Something's gonna come up and I'm like, it always works, right? There's never like, sometimes I have to be in a Drake mood. Jay-Z I can just always put on. But not enough people know that.
I was a huge Kanye fan
of course.
back in the day.
Of course.
College dropout days.
Of course. That still holds up. Oh boy, Mark. You gotta get some shot making on over here, my friend.
Gotta get creative.
Yeah. I've written so many emails in my life now. I can like write out a launch email in like 2 minutes. And if I have somebody like newer on a team or something, it might take them half a day.
Yep.
And they'll be like, how can you do that? And I'm like, it's not some secret thing. It's just like 10 years of, this is compound, like this compounds over time. And it's just an element of like, yeah, it's not some secret crap. It's like the more you've done it, you can just.
That's not what I wanted, but it went through.
I think in some ways, like it made me a bad manager when I first started because I was like, oh, it's just quicker for me to rewrite this myself, but then nobody else learns that way.
You're talking about writing emails. How many emails do you think you've written in your life?
I don't know, a bazillion. Just because like not even just like HubSpot send marketing emails, just like email has been the mode. Like I worked in PR and then I worked in marketing, like internally, all those count too, right?
Oh,
How many emails do you have to send to the company about an update? Like those all count as reps. Like,
Well, you mentioned like,
but on that thing though, I think that's a lot of, that's an area that I think, so I learned from this guy when I was a PR intern, and he cared so much about, cause it was a client facing business, right? And so you can't just send these like lazy little emails back and forth to the client. And so he had this pet peeve about when an email chain goes on for a long time and the subject changes, but nobody ever changes the subject line.
I hated that.
So he'd literally like write back and change the subject line. And so I do things like that now. Like, you know, you can keep the context in the thread, but let's change the like, you know, RE golf on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
But he cared so much about the internal communications that I learned a lot about like writing those updates. And I think if you write a lazy email to the company, like of course nobody's gonna read it. It's your job to make sure it gets read, right?
I would say I've picked up a whole lot from you over the years, but one of the biggest things was internal marketing. Like I didn't really realize how important that was until
so important.
Like you started banging that drum, and it's
well, because everybody's like, I'm sharing all these updates with the team, but they're not listening. I'm like, is that on them or that's on you? Like it's your job to figure out like how to get people to pay attention. So maybe you're talking about something that they don't care about. Maybe you're delivering in a style that they don't want. Like you have to figure that out. And every company is different.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
All right, let's be a golfer, Mark.
Ooh, interesting little play there.
See that bounce?
Good shot. That's what we're gonna do. Do it. You gotta hit it high. All right.
What a putt.
That was a classy effort right there. Good, Mark. Be good for the kid.
Ooh.
Yeah. See that cat? That's your boy. Not only do I have 170,000 followers on LinkedIn, but I'm a heck of a caddy. In case you noticed.
Run me through what was going through your head for your first board meeting presenting. I was so nervous the first time I did it.
I mean, most of the times they didn't let me. I didn't do any board stuff at Drift. They said, you're not doing that, buddy. I had one or two at Privy. See, that's gone. I think the board meeting is interesting because a lot of times, like, the CEO ultimately owns the relationship with the board, and they don't always want you to tell them everything. Not that you're lying or keeping secrets. It's just like there's a certain narrative that they want to present.
Yeah.
So it's like marketing might not always be the thing. Like when I was at Drift, it was like a lot more like customer success and churn was an issue, and so there was a lot more time that needed to spend on that. At Privy, it was much more straightforward. We had a pretty simple business.
I saw you do the same thing.
Yeah. But I think it's just like, it's a good test. It's like, how well do you know the business? How well do you know like everybody wants to see how well you have a command on what's and an understanding about what's going on. Oh, you got to hit it. I think my number one thing is like to first sit down with the CEO and say like, what do you want me to, like, what do you care about? What's important that we talk to them about?
Yeah, the other thing that I've been trying recently is keeping in touch with the board members, like outside of board meetings, and just asking what they're interested in too. So you kind of go in knowing what they want to hear about.
You got to hit it.
Ah!
I don't know. For me, that's the CEO's. That's the CEO's job. You tell me what you want me to talk to them about. I don't think it's your job to manage the board.
No,
Different in every company. I don't have nearly enough experience doing it to like have a strong opinion about it. But
no, I think Evan does a really good job managing the board. Yeah, it was definitely. I presented now. I got to do my slides during the event this week, Thursday, Friday. I presented.
Does he tell you roughly what he wants you to cover?
Yeah, I mean, he usually will have, a topic.
does every department do something?
Each department gives slides, like an update, but not every department presents in each meeting, so they rotate who presents. I've been pretty fortunate. I meet with Kyle Lacey weekly as like a mentor.
Yeah.
And he's helped me out so much just in terms of like board prep. And
What does he say?
well, just like the scorecard that I report out on, consistency between updates and like every meeting, because they're going to look at the last deck and see what you said you were going to do. Like, did you actually follow through on it?
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest thing is just like really working the narrative for whatever happened. And I think that was something that, you don't really get training on that until you get in the seat. And that was, I think,
It's almost like
bigger
nobody's gone to school for B2B marketing, you might say.
What's marketing content without
Honestly,
a
I'm
plug?
the worst person in the world to ask. Like, I'm so far removed from that now. I'm just a thought leader running a media company. Like, I don't know.
Looking back, what was the biggest like adjustment that you had to make when you got promoted to VP?
I don't know. There wasn't really a lot. Like, I kind of feel like it's like NBA free agency in some ways, where like you get promoted for the job you've already been done it. You've already been
What a reference.
right?
That is so spot on.
Like, you're not like now you're gonna do different things. I think I was already acting in that role in a bunch of different ways. I think it's more just like it was more about as the company grew, and like now you have a bigger team, and so like the things, it's less about the job title, more like the stage of the company and how many people are on the team. And shifting from manager, I think I'm good at the marketing. I'm not so good at like people management, and I think a lot of the job becomes that. It's planning, budgeting, performance management, this team issue, that team issue, this cross-functional thing. Like, I'm like, can I just write the copy for the landing page? Like, and you gotta do both.
Yeah.
You gotta do both. But I think I struggle with a lot of that stuff. Is like, I gotta, so-and-so on the team is like underperforming, and I gotta like, CEO's on me because this person's been underperforming for a while, and we gotta like manage them out. And it's like, that stuff sucks.
Yeah. And you just have to do more and more of it.
And yet that's just what the job becomes.
Yeah.
So like, I knew that there was especially at Drift, like when the company was big, I'm like, I'm not the right CMO for this. It's just not. I think I could do it. Yeah. I could learn it and grow into it, but it just wasn't the right thing for me. And I think if you want to become like, get into marketing and leadership, like I think understanding what that is, the difference between that and coming up with a campaign and filming video or whatever, it's just so different. Yeah. Or just like, hey, maybe at this point in your life, this is what you want to learn. It's so different than doing the actual job of marketing. But actually listen to Kip and Kieran on their Marketing Against the Grain podcast. Kip's the CMO.
Should I listen to that? I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's great.
I like what I see, but I don't listen to it yet.
No, it's great. Kip was saying like he actually still doesn't think he's that good of a people manager. And I was like, that was nice to hear from someone who's been, basically a decade running marketing at HubSpot. Yeah. But he has a team, he has built the right team underneath him to do that. So I think just realizing that. I think the bigger the company becomes, it's more like a mini CEO type of job, like any function.
Yeah.
Head of product, head of, customer success, whatever. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years from now, I'll do something like that again.
I can't see you missing anything like that.
Missing anything like that?
Is that a fair statement or no?
I don't know. I don't miss it. It's just so different. What I'm doing now is just so different. Like running my own company is so different than being a head of marketing at somebody else's company.
Well, even just like, I mean, what? You were solo a year-ish ago?
Yeah. Dan started in November.
So almost a year. I mean, I've even kind of noticed a little difference from afar of like how much more fired up you seem to be now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, basically it was like when Dan came in and then we brought in Matt and then Danielle and Anna, it was cool to see them be excited about the business. And it was almost like Dan came in and he was like, dude, you have something amazing. He doesn't talk like that, it's just my impression. And I was almost like this moment of wait, I'm pretty? You think I'm pretty? Like, really? Tell me more. And then like Matt came in and he was like, dude, we have so much opportunity. And then like the rest of the team comes in and I think that has got me fired up. Like,
yep.
And I think for me, I've been talking about B2B marketing for a decade. Like, it's given me like a new chapter for me where like I'm running a business and I feel like I'm building new muscles again and I'm learning again and I'm in a different role now.
Yeah.
So that part that's what's given me energy, right? If it was like, I talk about this a lot, like ask me for my hot takes on B2B marketing right now. I don't have any. I don't know. I know because I do lots of interviews with people.
Yeah.
And so I could make opinions based on what they tell me about what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm not in the game. Like I'm not in that game. I'm interviewing them and I know because we have a strong community and I know what those people are doing and like what B2B marketers care about.
Yep.
But it's not from my personal experience anymore.
Yeah.
That part's been fun. Like to build a company has been really fun. Cause this is a nice little par 4. You just wanna send it.